Hello and welcome to episode 119 of Nolo Time. My name is Soviet Velez, and with me is the most interesting man in the world, Joel Young.
What's good? No low time. Obed, it's a pleasure to be with you again, my friend.
Let's see you
How
again,
are you
dude.
doing?
I am doing fantabulous. It's gonna be a stormy night. Hopefully,
Yes.
hopefully we can weather this out and we don't get any either power outages or internet outages, and we can give you guys this episode. But I'm doing pretty good. Finally, the disease is waning away. At least I feel much better compared to even last week. So I'm doing much better, man. Not too much on my end. There's something that I watched over the weekend that I want to talk to you about. We can talk about it later.
Sure.
But played some more of that Kingdom Hearts DLC. I thought I was not gonna go back to it, but I went back and actually made it to level 99, so I leveled up all the way, and I was
Nice.
able to actually beat I think 3 or 4 of the bosses of the during the bus rush, and I went back and leveled up. They give you the Oathkeeper Keyblade on the DLC, so went back and upgraded that all the way too because I was missing 2 ingredients out of it. And yeah, played that a little bit. Played some Battlefront. Went back to Battlefront. There's still a lot of people in Battlefront, man. After those last updates that came out around Christmas for the Rise of Skywalker, and it's basically as soon as you hit the button to search for a game on Team Deathmatch or Blast or whatever you call it, um, it just within 3 seconds it just finds a room and gets you in right away. So there's still a lot of people playing it. Um, Still doing a lot of cool stuff on that game. It's getting used to the First Order rocket trooper to being completely changed because they completely changed it. It has some cool stuff, but you just get used to like the standard rocket trooper like it was before. So it's kind of weird to get used to that. But it's cool, man. It's that game's still a lot of fun. Very very active, and it looks like they just pushed BB-8 just came out this week. So it's BB-8 and BB-1E as
Nice.
heroes, and so maybe during the weekend I'll do that. I'm planning on actually just going back to Death Stranding. Um, but yeah, that's pretty much all I did. And the other thing that I want to talk to you about after after you tell us what's up, dude.
Yeah, honestly, not really much for me either, Obed. Spent the weekend, this last week, and weekend being pretty busy, taking care of business, doing what you gotta do. I did get the opportunity to finally go back out into my DVR, and after watching, the Crisis on Infinite Earths a few episodes back, we talked about that, the crossover on the CW of all the Arrowverse characters crossing over, and the end of the Green Arrow. There's no spoiler. This is just literally the way it was marketed,
R.I.P.
right?
Green Arrow.
Yeah, it's like I'm not trying to spoil
I've
anything, but
seen the
just
I've seen the memes, Joe. I've seen the
yeah,
memes.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's out there, right? Um, but going in, there was two episodes that came out after this crossover that were Arrow episodes. So the show didn't end before, and that was kind of weird to me. I wasn't entirely sure. I didn't. To be honest, I didn't keep up with from the behind the scenes standpoint if that was going to be something or not. And then checked my DVR. I'm like, wait a second, there's two new episodes that I missed that came out after this crossover. So I went back and watched those. Um, Look, man, it's that that show died with this guy, man. I mean, I'm just gonna keep it straight. It just shots of the heart, just
Okay.
gone.
Okay.
Does
All
not
right.
does not have a pulse after he went out.
Man.
They're trying to build up this kind of canaries, thing that I'm assuming that maybe they're trying to make a show out of this. I'm not
Yeah.
entirely sure, to be honest with you. I'm so disconnected from what they're trying to do. It's just I couldn't wait for it to be over.
Yeah.
I did myself a justice of trying to finish it out and see how they pair back. The coolest thing that happened, and spoiler territory, y'all. It's out there, right? Whatever.
It's fine, Joe.
Was
Go ahead.
was really just the very cool of the last episode is how John Diggle has a really great speech at the end of the last episode. They try and figure out who should really speak at the burial site of the Arrow. And I mean, you've got Supergirl there, you've got Flash. I mean, of course, like the other heroes would want to come and pay tribute to to him as memorial. Um, and none of them you really have words to say as they're grieving. And John is there's a you're the one, we want you to step forward and speak. And it's a great speech. And as he's doing it, there's kind of a montage of what they're each doing afterwards, in his legacy and how they move go forward. Setting up the Canaries, his daughter, blah 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 blah, all this kind of stuff. But then you get to a really cool John Diggle moment where you see an asteroid coming from the sky. It explodes right in front of him. He gets out of his truck, goes down, opens it up. There's like a little it's kind of funny the way it was packaged. I thought was weird. It was no joke, like literally like an engagement box. Opens the box up and it's the Green
Is
Lantern's
the Green
ring.
Lantern? Okay.
So it's signifying that he's John. It's like John Stewart, really, which I thought was really awesome because honestly, that actor would be a great John Stewart. I don't.
Yeah.
I know that there's no plans to do anything with him beyond this of him being. It was just a wink wink moment to the fans. That's something that they had thought would be really cool. And of all the things to be done, because some of the things they've done is very corny. Fans like corny stuff sometimes. I'm gonna shoot it straight. This stuff we do in No Load Time, Obed. But that was one of those things that was like a cool, harmless. The show's done anyways, whatever. And what we know about the new HBO Max show that they're going to be working on, the new Green Lantern show, that's completely separate. Elseworlds. If you watch the crossover, you know how they set up the new Green Lantern Earth that he lives on. They actually have that moment. So yeah, I thought that's kind of what I did, kind of what I caught up on.
Cool.
Went back and playing some more Ultimate Alliance. I really need to get back in the Jedi Fallen Order so we can talk
Dude,
about more here.
so
That's my plan.
you okay. So you need to play that game because I got to an episode of Clone Wars that takes place it takes place in a place that they go to in Fallen Order, and you need, dude. I want to talk to you about this so much, and I can't because I don't want to spoil it.
I'm about
But
to end this podcast now and jump on the console.
bro, I was watching
Wow.
it. I was like, I can't wait to tell Joel that that he needs to freaking play this thing because we want to talk. I want to talk
Wow.
to you about that for sure. It's something that connects Clone Wars with that game, and that and what happens in that game connects to the Force Awakens. And that's all I
Oh.
gotta say. That's all I gotta say.
Oh.
That's all I gotta say. I'm not gonna go into
Huh.
more. I'm not gonna go into anymore. Anyhow, so as it is tradition in our show, Joel,
Yes.
we will talk Star Wars here for quite a few minutes, and we talked about how man babies cry and do all this stuff out there, and hey, I don't like this thing, and this thing's too woke, and all the you know all these things, right? um Granted that that's something that's always happened. It's not anything new, and this being no time, the cure for the common man baby, we are going to talk about something that I found out this weekend that existed. I actually heard about it. I remembered afterwards because I mentioned it to you, but afterwards I remembered that back when G4 was still around, I heard about this on G4 somewhere. And it's basically a documentary called "The People versus George Lucas" that was released in 2009, right after the prequels, right around when the Clone Wars were coming out, the Clone Wars series. So the prequels were done. Clone Wars was coming out. Um, and documentary that should basically be called "Man Babies the Movie." Um, it was insane, Joe. Like I was like physically like I was angry because me growing up with Star Wars, right? And there was a lot of people like, oh yeah, I went to watch the movie in the theater and grew up with the movie. Yeah, okay, same as me, right? These guys were me. Maybe a few years older. There was a couple of guys that actually watched like the original, in the movie theater. I wasn't born yet, but um, basically the same way. I grew up with Star Wars when it was unaltered, unfiltered, on you know when it was despecialized and all this stuff, right? Um, and we see how crazy these guys got when with the alterations that they made to the original trilogy, and how there was like, oh yeah, there's no original trilogy, this is the trilogy, right? And how they treated that, and this craziness. Like I've mentioned it before that the only scene that I really have a problem with in the special editions is the singing scene on Return of the Jedi, because that really, like, to me, it is absolutely atrocious. Like, that scene is probably one of the worst things that I've seen in a movie ever. It's absolutely terrible. It's still, if I could have the Return of the Jedi special edition, right, and cut that scene and just put the original scene back on, just change the music or something, add more puppets or more people, whatever you want to do. But just the number, the music, it's so stupid, and that's the only scene that really aggravates me. Like, I'm actually, like, I feel my ears getting hot right now just talking about that scene, how much I hate it. But with even with that, Joel, I appreciate what Lucas did, and even with my not liking um, Phantom Menace that much, me disliking, actively disliking Attack of the Clones, but then we suffered through that movie to get to Revenge of the Sith, which it's one of my favorite Star Wars movies. It's up there. I really really like that movie. But we see these guys, and it's like, oh, this, you know, George Lucas, basically just ruined my childhood, people, and just hating and calling him names, and I just think it was just, man, holy crap. Um, the only thing that I could think of is like, wow, these guys are in for a ride, because this was done in 2009,
Yeah.
3 years before the 4 years before the acquisition, 4 years before Disney bought it. So these guys had no clue what was gonna happen, and I was like, oh boy, you guys just guys wait, right? It's gonna get
Oh
crazy here.
man.
So we just went through all these people that in the end were either legitimate man babies that I destroyed. I don't have anything Star Wars except for like my original like VHS with the original trilogy
Uh,
unaltered, and oh, I threw away everything, and Jar Jar, and then people like destroying Jar Jar figures and burning them, and man, it was so depressing. I felt like actually angry because, you know, whatever, right? He did, man. My problem with that documentary, I think my biggest problem, right, is that, fine, you know what, you own this, you do with it whatever you want. George Lucas had that right? And what if I take my car, right? And I want to what if I take my car and I want to do those stupid like camber wheels on it and put like a triple decker wing Walmart. I was like, it's my choice, right? I can do whatever the hell I want. So George Lucas did whatever he wanted, and he's in his right? And I feel that, yes, you have to respect the fans. But I don't think he meant any disrespect for what he did. He felt like when Walt Disney said Disneyland is never gonna be finished. We're always going to keep adding stuff. We're always gonna be changing stuff. It's never gonna be done. So I think that he saw Star Wars or the original trilogy as his Disneyland, and he did what he thought was right. you know it worked in some places, in some places it didn't, but at the end of the day, it was his choice. But yeah, man, there's some crazy man babies in this movie, and I was like, oh my god, what the heck is it? Like, you know what is again, I still have my collector's edition VHS copy of the Phantom Menace in widescreen.
that's
And
That's saying something.
and come on, I kept it. I could have just given it to Goodwill. I have a dude. I have the movies on Blu-ray. Like every movie that I've rebought on Blu-ray, I've donated, except for my Star Wars movies. I still have my DVDs, and the DVDs are the worst version. The DVDs are the worst version of the original trilogy, and I still have them. So come on. I mean, it's just I know that's kind of irrelevant, right?
I'm
Because
putting that
it's
on social media. That clip's going out.
but good, yeah, do it. At this point it's irrelevant because this documentary was 10 years ago, long before the acquisition, long
Mhm.
before we got the new trilogy and the other movies, and the return of Clone Wars and all this stuff, right? And Mandalorian and everything that's happening. So yes, it is irrelevant, but at the same time, you know this people like this people in this documentary um are the reason that Disney owns Star Wars, basically.
100%.
At the end of the day, that's it. I'm sorry, man.
No, no, you're fine. No, I 100% agree with that, and
Yeah,
I think your argument is the most fairest argument you can have here. You're not saying that you agree with everything George did, because that's the other part, right? Like, like the picture that this documentary paints is it's like there's two people. There's the people that are like, "What have you done?" And then there's the people that worship at the idol of George Lucas. That's just completely unfair. We're not saying that this guy is someone that should be praised for everything he's done. There are some things that he definitely should be challenged upon, and I think that was a big issue with those prequel movies. That it might have been a good thing if he had some creative challenges that was put before him by some other people saying, hey, you're really sure that that's the direction you want to go with this? Let's talk it through more about the ramifications it has on maybe some of your other, so the original trilogy, right? The work that it does sometimes contradict in certain things, and I get that, right? This argument specifically the specialized edition and changes, etc., etc. Like, to your point, generally speaking, this work, especially as it pertains to the prequels, um, this is the person who created this stuff, so it belongs to him at the end of the day. It belongs to him, the decisions on how he wants to go with it. No piece of art created by any artist belongs to the people. It belongs to the artist first, because the artist was the first one that had the eye to see what they were making. You know, this is just that's just the way it is when art is created in any innovative new way. And he did something new that literally challenged people to how they made films, how they wrote stories, how they created worlds, how science fiction was depicted.
yeah,
It's just it to take it away from that and say you ruined it. No, he actually gave us what an incredible gift. And to your point, it's not that everything he did was right. There's plenty of
yeah,
things that I'm not happy with. There's plenty of things I don't like. But that's to me, it's almost like reflective of life. It's like just the way we live our lives. We make mistakes as humans, the way we live our lives, right?
yeah,
There's things here and there. That doesn't make those mistakes or those things that maybe we disagree with or would have done differently in the past, doesn't mean that our whole life is a disaster. That's the same way it is with this, right? It's like
yeah,
he had flip ups, but it doesn't mean the whole thing is a disaster.
yeah. And I mean, it's aggravating, right? Because you watch these guys being so disrespectful and condescending, and you know and it was just very you know I don't even know how I feel, dude. It's like it was aggravating. It was like I had to take deep breaths. I was like, oh my god, I was just face palming like every 5 minutes. It was ridiculous. It was ridiculous. I mean, it made me chuckle a couple of times. It's like, oh, that's funny, but it was too much.
I haven't
And
watched it in a couple years. I think I'm going to
uh,
go back and rewatch
okay,
it.
it's on YouTube. Someone posted on
Yeah.
YouTube for free, and that's how I found. It was on my recommended, and I watched it, and I found out about all this crap that these people did. But the best way I put it, Joel, not to go too long on this, is fairy tales like Sleeping Beauty, Snow White, Little Mermaid, Beauty and the Beast, all this, classic fairy tales. None of the modern stuff that we've had in the last 100 years
Yeah.
It's not even close to what the original source material is. Uh, some of these tales are like super messed up,
Oh, a
dude.
lot of them are.
Like very messed up. You know, and I would dare to say not even in the last 100, 30 years. Back to like the
That's
late
fair.
1800s. Um, and so these stories have been modified to you know to get with the times in essence. And that's why he attempted. He failed in some parts, he succeeded in others, but that's what he tried to do, right? um but man, it's like the hate that Phantom Menace got. Like you see fans is like, okay, so we're really excited, there's no way that this movie's gonna suck, but what if he does? It's like, there's no way, man, there's no way. And then they go in, and then the Kroll comes in, and like I've always talked about, it's like the Kroll comes in, it's like taxes, trade embargo, negotiations, and
Viceroy, the
Viceroy
tariffs, and
Gunray and all these guys.
yeah.
So it- yeah, I mean, we all felt like that. Like I felt like that, right? I went to the movie theater. My cousin,
Right.
with my cousin, so this movie came out in '99. I was 19.
Sure.
Um, I was gonna turn 20 that fall that year. My cousin, who's 6 years younger, so he was 13 at the time.
Right.
He absolutely loved the Phantom Menace. It's like, oh my god, this is like the best movie I've ever seen. This was amazing. And I go and he had already seen it. I was like, okay, so let's go to a movie theater. I want to go see it. I haven't gone because I was in college, so I hadn't had the time to go. And we went and saw it. And I was like, man, I told you, see, that movie was awesome. It's like, dude, Return of the Jedi is bad. Are you kidding me? And I told him like out of the movie, and I remember his face, and it was like, "What?" It's like, dude, yeah, like Return of the Jedi is a better movie than this one. It's cool, like it had some cool things, like the Potter was cool and Darth Maul was cool and all these things, right? But as a movie, like Return of the Jedi is better. Um, and he was shocked. And then we got back home and we put Return of the Jedi on VHS,
Mm,
and he watched it. I was like, man, I think you're right. So he had already saw it twice by then. I saw it once. I only saw it once in the movie theater, and then I bought it when it came out. But yeah, man. I mean, again, people are entitled to their opinions.
right.
At the end of the day, we can agree to disagree respectfully. We don't not because I disagree with you on something means that I hate you, because that's not the case. That it's
It's
a
drastic.
that is a very Sith way of looking at things, Joel. So um, you know, just if you didn't enjoy it, that's fine, but you don't have to go out there and burn people. That's not nice. So that's all I gotta say about this crazy stuff. But talking about crazy stuff, Joel, something that we did not see coming. We all knew that Doctor Strange 2 had lost his director. I don't think we discussed it here because that was during our time off. But just last night, Variety is reporting that Sam Raimi, the director of the original Spider-Man trilogy with Tobey Maguire, and also the original Evil Dead trilogy, amongst other movies, is going to be directing Doctor Strange 2, or into the what is it, Multiverse of Madness? Is it right?
Multiverse of Madness.
So yeah, man, I'm excited. I'm excited, man. How you feel?
Yeah, I'm feeling really excited about this. It actually sounded like too good to be true, honestly, at first. And I was like, because you sent it to me, and
Yep.
when I saw it, I was like, wait a second,
I sent you the rumor when it was still rumor
we're
from
still
an
rumored.
IGN reported
But
on it.
right, because it was from IGN, I was like, okay, there's got to be some smoke to this. There's got to be
Yeah.
something about this. But I still didn't think. I was like, maybe that's not going to happen. But wow, that's really cool. But then when it actually started getting that traction and started getting those legit reporting on it, saying, okay, this is a thing, man, like I'm overjoyed thinking about it because, you know, let's be honest, for the early 2000s, Spider-Man was something very special. The Sam Raimi Spider-Man movies, you watch them now, and I'm not gonna say they don't hold up because I still have a good time. I enjoy to watch the whole trilogy, the whole storyline. But I think if I was to put it in front of a kid today, they might be like, certain parts cool, other parts not as connected to, right? For
Mhm.
its time, really hit off in a special way, and that's something to be known, right? I think good cinema transcends time. This was not maybe not as strong, but I think from understanding there are certain elements, there are certain points, right? Specifically, Spider-Man 2 that I'll
Mhm.
point out being a very strong example of what Raimi can do from a storytelling,
Yeah.
from a standpoint of people connecting emotionally. That's what gets me most excited. I think, and if I'm not mistaken, Kevin Feige has actually been on the record of saying that Spider-Man 2, the Sam Raimi Spider-Man 2, is one of his favorite superhero movies of all time. He thinks it's one of the best movies. So it's no surprise that if he really liked that movie, that he would try and pull that director in. Now that he's a studio head, a very successful studio head.
The big thing about Sam Raimi is that he basically kickstarted the superhero on the Marvel, genre. Yes, before that we've had the Tim Burton Batmans, which I think both of them are great. After that, Batman basically just became campy and a comic book or a comedy at the end, if you even wanna call it that. But before that, the Burton Batmans and maybe the first Superman, whereas that was a serious take on a superhero, not too cartoony. But he was the one that basically modernized the superhero genre and brought it to a broader audience.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, so in essence, we owe part of the MCU to what he did. What he did was very important, and he brought Spider-Man to the mainstream again. Made it insanely popular. Movies did really well in the box office. Spider-Man 3, at the end of the day, yes, it's too long and there's too many villains, but it's not an awful movie. It's fine. It uh Before that, what he did in horror with Evil Dead, which is the original Evil Dead, for being a very, very low budget movie, it's really creepy and scary, and it was something that was never done before, and different. Evil Dead 2 and then Army of Darkness, that goes into more of like an action comedy type of thing, action horror comedy.
Mhm.
So so the like Evil Dead, and I don't want to compare it to JoJo, right? Because I consider JoJo, the both the manga and anime. It's an action horror comedy because that
Mhm.
technically is what it is. But basically Sam Raimi created the genre back when, with Evil Dead 2 and Army of Darkness, back in the day. So uh yeah, I think this is very cool. There's Boss Logic put a poster out there, Joel, with Sam Raimi Spider-Man hand coming out of the portal. And I before I jumped into the podcast, there was a rumor that something about Tobey Maguire cameo. We'll see. That'd be pretty freaking cool. So yeah, man, I'm
I mean,
excited.
it's the movie of the multiverse, right? You can pull in other universes, other realities. So yeah, it'd be
Yeah,
fun. We'll see.
and now with the Morbius trailer and seeing the the Raimi suit on Spider-Man with a Raimi suit and in a graffiti, with murderer like graffitied on top. Spoilers for Far From Home. Basically at the end, they make Spider-Man to be a murderer. So yeah, this is a great pick, man. I am really excited. I saw people say it's like, when are you going to bring in Brian Singer? No, no,
No, no, no, no. That man's not
no.
working in Hollywood.
That guy's
No,
not working. That guy's not coming anywhere
you.
close Disney.
Yeah, you clearly haven't seen seen the news lately. Yeah.
Oh my goodness. Yeah.
And that's
So
also not to discount though what we were talking about, like superhero movies become serious. Bryan Singer is one of those people that you
yeah,
can't discount his work because that was one of the very first superhero movies to come back on the big screen was X-Men with the
yeah,
2000 and then you started getting Spider-Man, all that stuff. But like you said, Raimi really modernized it, so
yeah,
it's really cool.
exactly. Like X-Men was good, right? The original X-Men.
Right.
It did okay in the box office, but when
Yeah.
Spider-Man came out, that's when everyone was like, "Yo, Spider-Man," and then it brought it off from there. So very cool. I am very excited. So we shall see. I guess we'll find out soon. So in a couple of years, we'll know what's up. Joe, let's go ahead and jump into gaming news. We'll leave the other. You know what? Let's take a quick break, and we're gonna be right back. And we are back. Joe, Rockstar's going through a little bit of a shakeup. Um, Co-founder Dan Houser is leaving the company. He's not only the co-founder of Rockstar, he is the lead writer and technical director for GTA and the Red Dead franchises. So basically, two of the biggest. Uh, One arguably could be the biggest franchise in gaming right now, and the other, a very very popular one. I don't know what to make of this. I think that there's definitely trouble brewing at Rockstar, and that's been going on for a few years now, based on the stories I heard about development, and this basically has been going on since GTA 5 originally came out in 2013. So yeah, interesting. I mean, getting do you think that they're getting poked by Take Two to put out another game faster than they think they can make it? They want him to crunch, and he's not willing to go through that, and his brother Sam is still in the company
Right.
basically, so he's still, you know, uh, a co-founder, and he is also a technical director, but he's not a writer. So, um, what do you think, man? What do you make of this?
Yeah, it's a weird one, and there's still not much clarification, which is why we're left to speculation on this whole thing. It's not even been formally announced. It's just this is the leaks of what's actually going on from the documents that's going around of this guy's departure within the company. But my whole thing is simply like, look, if you have a guy like this that's been there from the start, literally you said co-founding this thing, 1998, him and his brother working in this thing for so long. No matter what trouble comes, this wouldn't be the first time when you start something new. You go through a lot of stuff that you go through to build something out and be successful and build a brand. And Rockstar is definitely a notable brand, a brand that has some good titles behind them. But for you to leave, after all the history you've had, either there's a couple of things, like either you're just done putting up with something that's been poking you in the side for too long, or you're literally being forced out, where there's maybe some type of business situation going on behind things that we're not aware of. That from a business standpoint, they're like, we would do better off without you. I mean, you kind of look at, it's not the same thing at all, but you kind of look at like the PlayStation situation, right? With House leaving, and how different now the way that they're running their business of promoting PS5 and just literally having an article being released. And that kind of stuff wouldn't have happened beforehand that way.
Yeah.
This very different marketing. Like, is there business behind this Obed that they're saying we want to do business differently, and he's saying traditional, creatively, to your point, maybe it was time creatively. They have names they can always lean on, but not really been very progressive with anything successfully new recently.
No, I mean, well, Red Dead's still putting out content.
Right. But that's like a traditional title, like a title that's, they kind
Yeah.
of lean back on.
Yeah, the thing here is that he was already on an extended leave of absence
Right.
since last year, and it is official that he's leaving in March. It's not necessarily, it was a leak originally, but now there is official documentation out there, and it sounds like based on what I've read, he is retaining his part in the company. Like, he's not, uh when Take Two purchased the studio, he still retains his part of ownership, but he will no longer be serving as creative director or whatever his title was.
Sure.
Very interesting. I'm wondering if this throws a wrench in the gear of Rockstar. And if there were plans for GTA, which it's probably at least 2 years away, in my opinion. Um, if that were to happen, you know, this could definitely delay whatever project they're working on. You know, could be indefinitely, and maybe another 4 or 5 years. Yeah, but you got to remember, yeah, Rockstar's that kind of studio that they release games every 5 years or so. They're not putting stuff out there. They could. I mean, they have the talent. They're clearly talented. Their games are not my cup of tea, but they're definitely talented. People, and
Right.
they popularize open world and sandbox games and all this. So they absolutely have the chops to produce products at I think at a higher rate. Um, maybe their maybe their projects were getting too big. Like maybe these things are just getting too. I'm sorry, I hit my mic. Maybe they're just getting too big, and instead of focusing on more, I'd say linear experiences, and giving people. I mean, he clearly had the writing chops, right? Why not give people a linear experience, a la Max Payne? Um, I don't know. We'll see. Again, I don't foresee a game from Rockstar in the next at least 2 3 years, maybe. So at least until 2022. So uh, very interesting. We'll definitely follow this, and we'll update you guys on what's going on. Joe, PS5 has a website. That's the only piece of news that I have on that, because there's really not a lot. There was that article floating around that Phil Spencer was saying that the Xbox competition is not PlayStation and Nintendo, is Google and Amazon, which I think is the stupidest thing to say, because Amazon doesn't even have a fully formed game division, and then Google Stadia is like the biggest flop in the last. The Google Stadia is the 3DO of of modern gaming. It's uh, uh yeah, whatever. I guess we're making a console, but we're not going to compete against the other console that has 75% of the same games we do. It's kind of a silly statement, in my opinion. uh there was actually a shakeup at Microsoft yesterday. I don't know if you guys are out there and you guys use Microsoft Teams for your place of work. You guys know what happened on Monday, where Microsoft Teams was down pretty much all morning. So yeah, basically the guy that's in charge of that, it's leaving the company. They're moving people around. Phil Spencer is still on Xbox, but at the end of the day, I think that their messaging, like doing they started good, right? With the messaging for the Series X. I still hate that name so much. It's so stupid. That name is so stupid. So um they started uh right with the right messaging, but as soon as Sony started like putting stuff out there, they started like scrambling and trying to do damage control, and now there's rumors that the hard drive that the Series X is going to be using is like 50% slower than the one on the PS5.
Wow.
So we will have like noticeable load times compared to the PS5. I don't know, Joe. This fall is gonna be very interesting.
Hmm.
I can't wait to see what the pricing on these things are gonna be, for sure.
Yeah.
Sony
Yeah.
said, yeah. Go ahead, man. I'm sorry.
No, you're good. You're good. I mean, like looking at it from the standpoint that they don't like they don't have to really worry about the marketing on
Not
obviously
really. Yeah.
PS5. So having a website is fine. Like we're in the second month now of the new year. So even something small like hey, we're teasing, at least they're not quiet about what they're doing, right?
Yeah.
With this new thing. At the end of the day, we know all we do know for confirmation is like, yeah, we're having to come out this year, so it will probably be within the next 7 months, right? That we'll get this console in our hands and
Yeah.
or in many people's hands. And so my whole thing is like, I think what really helped the last generation, of consoles was, PlayStation really struck the iron first and kind of came out the gates running, and everyone else was trying to catch up to them. Um, this is like one of those times now of next gen history where where like we'll point back to remember the launch or leading up to the launch,
Yeah.
the kind of vibes that we get here. So, hearing the reports from Microsoft of, that there's still not a lot of, first party games that are being developed, exclusively for this console for the launch, and having, the delay of the Nintendo Switch Pro probably to come out, not this year, by now the following year. I think that all helps and sets up PlayStation for great successes. They already were in a great position, coming off of the heels of PS4, but now they're really set up for like, let go for the home run, guys, because like people are literally positioning themselves not to be in a major competitive state against you, but we shall see.
Yeah, yeah, it remains to be seen. And again, it's going to be very interesting this fall with you know these games coming out and these consoles coming out. One interesting thing that I saw too, Joel. It's there's supposedly a, a slot in the back of the Xbox One of the Xbox Series X. Uh, there's a slot in the back of the console that's supposed to be for like the new ultra fast like compact flash cards to expand memory. At the time, those cards are really expensive. I think they're like $500 for like they're like $100 for 100 for each
One
100 gigs
terabyte.
is each 100 gigs
Oh wow.
is like $500. So like for a 500 like a 500 gig card is no, actually it's more than that. I think like the 128 gig card is like $500. It's like stupid
What?
stupid expensive.
What?
So supposedly it has a slot that looks similar to that sort of port. I don't buy it. I think it's probably like a debug port or something. It's probably not gonna be like an expandable memory thing. They may just use USB for that. But yeah, it's a console year in an election year. I don't know which one you're gonna be more excited for. Clearly the console, probably.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, interesting stuff. PlayStation's putting their little tidbits here and there. It's doing all the talking at the moment, so we'll see how that wraps up. Joe, we got information about two fighting game tournaments that basically came out almost in the same day. So Evo announced their lineup as well as CEO announced their lineup and location. So first, let's do Evo. They got their main 9 games, and this is interesting. And I'm not gonna go in any particular order here, but Dragon Ball Fighter Z, Grand Blue Fantasy Versus, which just came out in Japan, I think yesterday, and it comes out here, if I'm not wrong, in April. Samurai Showdown, Soul Calibur 6, Street Fighter 5 Champion Edition comes out next Friday. Super Smash Bros. Ultimate, Tekken 7, and Under Night, In Birth, XC, Late, Clear. Those are the main games, but they added an extra additional game, and it is a game that has a 20th anniversary this year. And it made me feel really old when I realized it. It's Marvel vs. Capcom 2. So that's gonna be their final game. Now this is a special tournament. It's an 8-man invitational. Um, 4 got invited, and there's gonna be eliminations for the other 4 places. So this is gonna be very interesting. Marvel is an amazing, amazing fighting game. It's super broken, back from the days where there was no patches. So, but it's a game that's beloved. It's a game that I love, and it's absolutely beloved by the fighting game community. And yeah, it's the 20th anniversary this year, man. So it kind of make me feel like old man Obed over here.
It's very nostalgic. It's fun. I'm very happy with this list from Evo. think to your point, like you said, Obed, it's like a pleasant surprise in Marvel vs. Capcom 2, showing some love to something that it doesn't need to be forgotten. It's a good time. It will be a fun thing to watch and look back, especially for when you're looking at a 20th anniversary. It's kind of the right opportunity to do something fun like that.
Yeah, I hope that Disney's watching or Marvel
Yeah, yeah, that's
games
true.
because
Get it right.
get it right. Yeah, get it
Learn
right.
from it. Yeah.
Yeah, because I mean, Infinite was just such a disaster. I mean, it was not a bad game at all, but
Right.
just the support. There was no support for that game. That game came out and had zero support. So, very, very unfortunate. On a curious note, Joel, Mortal Kombat 11 is not on the list.
That is curious.
That is very weird. There's rumors that WB is gonna do their own thing with Mortal Kombat.
So might have been
The
withheld from them.
So yeah, so more than likely, and because it's a big stage, probably that's part of the reasoning. But going on to CEO, CEO announced that they're coming back to the Wyndham in at International Drive, back from Daytona Beach. Thank the maker. It's and this one's like all over the place because this has everything. There's basically Street Fighter, Tekken, Smash Bros, Mortal Kombat, Soul Calibur, Dragon Ball, Grand Blue Fantasy, Under Night, Marvel 3, Samurai Showdown, that Power Rangers Battle for the Grid game that came out a few months ago for PS4. It's here. Def Jam 5 for New York. Is that that's like a PS2 game, right?
Yes, it is.
PS2 game. Super Street Fighter 2
Street
Turbo.
Fighter 2. Yep.
Yeah, and Capcom vs. NK2, which is another beloved game by the fighting game community. Third Strike is back, and Blaze Blue Cross Tag Battle. That was hype when we went, not last year, but the year before.
Yep.
Those that Cross Tag Battle fights were pretty hype. So interesting to see that this one's also missing from Evo. So I don't know what's going on with Evo. I think they're too big and they have to make choices, right? And on to where to basically cut um where if you add this much games to the amount of people that go to Evo, it'll be a week long thing. And you only have a weekend, so you can only do so much. But yeah, uh so CEO starts June 26th. That's on a Friday. In Evo, the official start date is on. Let me see if I can find it here. July 31st. So yeah, they're usually a month apart. Um, yeah, very very cool stuff. When it comes to fighting games, I'm hoping to make it out to CEO. And as a spectator and just chill out, watch some Street Fighter and some Dragon Ball and get hyped. But yeah, man, what do you think of this two esports? If you don't call them esports, they're fighting games, right? They're
That's right.
they're FGC, they're not esports. So so what do you think, man?
Yeah, I'm happy. Specifically, CEO coming back to Orlando, really, and iDrive. It's obviously a nicer area, a safer area to be in,
Much safer.
much safer. I think
Yeah.
that's to be blunt. It's necessary
It's a
for you
it's
to
a
have
very
people to enjoy the experience.
yeah, it's a tourist friendly area.
Right.
So I think it's definitely a lot more pleasant than having it over in Daytona. But
E-
yeah, man.
Exactly. And so it welcomes more people to travel in for this, as many of them do, and the local community as well knows it's a popular area. So in general, for CEO to win, fun lineup as well, good lineup going on there. I do think that they will when you have this many games going on, you have a good amount of people that are catching on to this as it continues to grow. I do think that the venue is going to be something that's going to have to change very, 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 very soon.
Yeah.
It's going to be very interesting to see how it's handled, even just this year alone, knowing that they're doing this. I'm happy. I'm happy with it being there. I'm happy with it where it is, but I do think that they're going to have to make that decision very, very soon, as in like maybe even for next year. I don't know if this returning to Orlando to return to the Wyndham is just a we got this done for this year for this time and place, and that's where we want to be going forward. But there's nothing contractually obligated like that. I don't know what that looks like. We none of us do. The powers that be, hopefully they are prepared and have some type of agreement that if they need to expand that they can and go to another place and not be locked down to that, because like any convention, it's never it's always a good to know that it grows. It's good to know more people are there, but you also make people feel more welcome when they feel like they can be in a large space environment. I mean, we went like 2 years ago, like you said, and it was already starting to fill up, and
And
I
that
can
was on the
only
smaller
imagine.
event.
I was on the smaller event, so
Yeah.
yeah, I'm sure this is just going to continue to grow, man.
Yeah, yeah, it is. There's plenty of venues in the area, and Disney's still working on their esports venue, so that may be something that they can look up in the future. I'm pretty sure, Joe, that just that this one's free. I'm pretty sure that this could happen at the big venue in Orlando. I'm
Right,
just saying. I'm just
right.
saying. But for in the meantime, it is going to be on a smaller venue over at the Wyndham. Hopefully, they have enough space for all those guys because it's been pretty big and it's been growing year to year. So hopefully, they will have enough space. Although they could probably just open that ballroom all the way out because we when we went they had where they had the arcade section, which CEO the big CEO actually has an arcade section that's like twice the size of that one. But maybe they can just make room. Maybe they can just spread to other areas at the resort. So that's a possibility as well.
Yeah.
But very cool stuff. I'm looking forward. I'm hopefully I'm planning to make it out. So at least that Saturday, just to hang out as a spectator. So hopefully we can inform you guys of what's happening. Joel, that's what I got. Kind of like a slow news week this week, but it was still fun just to come in and hang out with you.
Absolutely. Always a pleasure, my friend. And our friends here listening to the show, thank you for joining us. Thank you for taking time out of your day to listen to No Load Time. We want to invite you to stay connected to us as always. So go ahead and make sure to follow us on social media at No Load Time. That's at No Load Time on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and Twitch. Also, want to invite you guys to make sure you're subscribed. Of course, that's the way you hear these latest episodes on podcasts. So we're on iTunes, Google Play, SoundCloud, and Spotify. We thank you all for being faithful listeners. Feel free to share it with others through social media, through other forums. And then, of course, lastly, we want to hear your feedback. We want to communicate with our fans. So we always invite you to send an email to noloadtime@gmail.com. That's noloadtime@gmail.com. Questions, comments, discussion points, disagreements, you name it. You can send it on in.
If you're a
And
man, baby, and you're offended about Star
yeah.
Wars,
Yeah, please send it in. You don't have to always agree with us. That's the art of this stuff. It's all subjective, right? But yeah, go ahead and send that email in, and maybe we'll discuss it here on the show even potentially. So you never know. Thank you all again. We look forward to being with you all for our very next episode. I think it's episode 120. Obey our next
it'll
one
be
will be.
120.
So
Yeah.
yeah, good stuff, guys. Thank you again, and we look forward to seeing you on our next show.
Thank you, guys. We'll see you again next time.